Let's bring in our political panel today. Chris Stirewalt is a political editor for the Washington Examiner, and Chris Wilson is also with me. He is a Republican pollster. Good to have both of you with us. Julie Mannon's here with me in the studio, and she's on the board of the Women's Campaign Forum and a New York Democratic official. Welcome. Julie, let me start with you. What do you make of those numbers?
Well, I don't think they're a surprise. I mean, listen, everyone is talking about Sarah Palin. Even my 5-year-old son knows who Sarah Palin is. But I think when the Republicans stop sequestering Sarah Palin and get her out in the media, and she really starts having to answer...
She's got a couple interviews that are lined up already. She's only been out there for a few days.
Well, we'll see how she does in those interviews. Right. But when she really starts talking about the issues that matter to the American public, the economy, a woman's right to choose, Iraq, let's see where those polls go.
All right, Chris Wilson, what about that? Is she being sequestered? Is she being kept away from reporters? And do they need to put her out there more?
Well, she is out there. She's out there meeting with voters. So
yeah, but she's out there, you know, she's out there basically giving the same speech I've seen for the past couple of days. So
but there's thousands of people, larger crowds that have turned out for any Republican events so far this year coming out to see her.
Absolutely.
So she's doing something right. And I think one of the things about those independent numbers you pointed out that are so important is the numbers about the qualifications. The fact is that with those independent voters from the Fox News poll, they say John McCain is very qualified by a margin of 50 to 24. But the one most interesting number that really compelled me when I was given the numbers from the Fox News poll a few minutes ago is when they asked which candidate most understood the problems of everyday life, and all 4 candidates were tested, Sarah Palin came out on top. And I think that's the sort of connection you're seeing happening. And that's why right now she's going right to the American people rather than having to sit down with the media elite.
Yeah, Chris Stirewalt, let's stay with that independent vote for a minute because it is so crucial to this election. Do you see this as a pop that is sustainable for these two?
Well, obviously for McCain and Palin, they're going to give some of their bounce back. The question is how much? And right now it looks like it's a substantial enough bounce that even if a third of it were to go away, say, that this is still a very competitive race and McCain has a clear path that could take him to victory. So all bubbles burst. The question is what's left after they're gone.
All right, let's take a look at the evangelicals, too, because there was a lot of talk early on in this whole campaign cycle that the evangelicals weren't going to matter that much in this election. They have had a huge swing in opinion, according to this poll. 55% of evangelicals were supporting John McCain back in August. A mere few weeks later, 61%, a very big jump, and as you can see, that number is pretty steady for Barack Obama. Julie, are you concerned at all about that vote?
You know, I'm really not. I mean, we knew that the far right was going to go for Sarah Palin. That's obviously why McCain picked her. But I think when you look at women, they are still steadily behind Barack Obama, and they're behind Barack Obama because he really views the woman's right to choose and many issues that matter to the women in America, and he's really on their side.
Let's take a look at women. Since you brought that up, we have a poll on white women as well in this. It doesn't show a huge move for John McCain in this number, and there has been a sense out there over the past few days, and we have seen some movement in other polls, but this one shows that number pretty steady. Chris Wilson, what do you think about that?
Well, I was surprised by that, and it was one of the first things I looked at, again, when I got the internals from the survey, was to look at what movement occurred with white women. As you say, they have still stayed fairly consistent, and my bet is probably what you saw is a lot of movement towards Obama that wouldn't be illustrated here, and then movement back towards McCain because of the Palin pick, because the other polls are showing a lot of support with white women for Sarah Palin, and I think it's just there's a sort of arrogance that exists that somehow she doesn't represent your average woman, and that's just not the case. And when you look at middle American women, the fact is Sarah Palin is far closer to their positions than Hillary Clinton was, and that's why you're seeing this level of movement in the numbers.
Well, Chris, I'd just like to jump in there. I mean, on a woman's right to choose and embryonic stem cell research, I don't think that Sarah Palin really stands for what a lot of Democratic women and independent women believe in.
Maybe not Democrat women, no. She's not where the far left is, but when it comes to middle America, your moderate voters, your conservative voters, there's no close
and that independent group, for whom, many of whom, that's not probably the top thing on their list, even if it is important to them. They maybe are focusing on other things. Very interesting. We're going to have a lot more on this. Chris Wilson, Chris Stirewalt. We'll see. Julie, we'll see you back in just a few minutes from now. Let's go to Trace, who's got some more on